When it comes to Boxcutter, multiple alignments exist. So to show this in action, I'm going to press X and delete this cube, and we're going to Shift A, add a plane. And for this plane, I'm just going to press Control X to delete one of these edges, and we're just going to drag this up so that we definitely have one of our longest edges here, and then one edge that's almost as long. And from here, we can begin talking about orientation. So if I begin drawing a box, it's going to orient to the local orientation of the shape. That means if I rotate the shape and the rotation's unapplied, I'm still going to locally be oriented to the shape whenever I try to cut through it. However, if we press Shift V, we can bring up basically the orientation helper, and we can jump from local to longest edge. This now means that whenever we draw a cut, it will be oriented to the longest edge of the shape. So in this case, the longest edge is this area, but because we cut this edge is no longer the longest edge. So that means that whenever I draw this cut, it's now actually oriented to this edge, which is now the longest edge. Let's bring it up here so that way this edge doesn't lose its ability to be the longest. So if we begin drawing in this area, we see that we're still oriented to this edge because it is the longest edge. Of course, we may have to bring the dot down a little bit to extrude all the way through. 2D cuts can be a little strange, but just like that, that's basically how longest edge works. If we press Shift V, we could change from longest edge to nearest edge. And what this means is that the edge nearest to us will be what we orient to. So as I draw close to this edge on the side, we see that we're oriented now to this edge. But if I begin drawing in this area, we see that we're now oriented to the nearest edge on that side. So it's just a way that you can get the most out of Boxcutter whenever it comes to orientation. Sometimes you actually want to orient to a nearby area in order to have all your shapes be congruent, as you see me doing here. But it can also get a little bit weird at times. So we see I'm trying to draw a shape around this oriented in the same way, but it's not working out. Let's press Alt V and turn on Wireframe. If we look at the wireframe, we see that our nearest edge is actually tragically located in this area, which is going to cause us some problems. This means I'll need to draw starting from a little bit lower, and then we can press G, move it up, and we can even move our draw dot, form an extrusion, press T, and here we are basically cutting out this area, just utilizing the orientation of another nearest edge in order to get us oriented correctly for this particular area. So some of these things can be a little bit tricky, but it's definitely recommended that new users spend a little bit of time just playing around with orientation to get acquainted with it, so that way they can get the most out of it and be able to get their shapes oriented exactly to the locations that they want to without issue. So for this area, we see that the first catch didn't work. The second catch that I did a little bit further down was able to reach the edge that's nearest to it, allowing me to make this cut angled exactly along the previous shapes that were being drawn.